I'm Rob Sorrenti, and I'm a writer, director, and producer. And I attended the ECU Film Festival in 2008. Wednesday was inspired by a true story that I read about in a newspaper. And two babies were born in the same hospital, in the same place, and they'd grown up not too far from each other throughout their lives. And they had met again. And they ended up going out and they got married, and it was a really lovely story and it really stayed with me. So when the time comes to make my first film, I really love the idea of telling my own drama, my own love story. So I used that as a base and spent some time over the next 6 months developing the script. And I worked with a friend who was an agent that understood story and script from all the different scripts she had read, and she bounced back the scripts to me with ideas, and just went over it and over it and over it. And by the end, we had a really succinct script. We had something that didn't have a lot of excess, and people read it and it felt right for the first time. I feel that you know when a draft's right, when it feels like it's not flabby and it's very clear and precise, and the momentum of the read feels like it's a finished film or something that could be made. You're not thinking, oh, that's too long, or asking too many questions, because everything in the script is already there. And I think the script tells you when it's ready. So we put a lot of hard work into it, and we felt like it was ready to be made. And then the production of the movie started. It was a very ambitious short film. We were very lucky at the time to have the support of Working Title Film, and they gave us a tiny bit of money to help us, and the rest was self-funded, and we raised some money as well, and we put all the money on screen. Everyone just got paid expenses. My mum did the catering, she's Italian, so we had this incredible food every day. It was a 5 or 6 day shoot, if I remember now. It's quite a long time ago, and we really went for it. We made it on 35mm film, back in the days where digital wasn't everywhere. It was still moving from film to digital at that time, and the DP and I really wanted to make a film on celluloid, and we did. Very beautiful organic process to work with film, and it was ambitious. We had a lot of big locations. We wanted it to feel epic and cinematic. It showed on screen what we achieved because of the quality of the crew that were behind the camera. Oh, I forgot to mention Ivana Primorac, who did hair and makeup. I think she does The Crown on Netflix now. She's like one of the biggest hair and makeup artists in the film. Then in front of the camera, we had Sinead Matthews, Tom McLean, Williamson, and Anne Emery playing our lead 3 roles of the nurse, the main actor Sam, the main character Sam, and the grandmother, the Nan, was played by Anne Emery. Personally, the effect it had on me, it was a massive accomplishment. It was my first short film. I think your first is always your baby, your child, the one that you're not allowed to have a favourite, that you secretly do. In terms of what it did for my career, it definitely put me on the map in the industry. I got my first agent out of doing that short film. I realised quite quickly you need to make a second film shortly after your first to prove it's not just you're not just a one-trick pony, that there's more to you than that story. And 2 years later, after the festival circuit finished, I went into production on a second short film that had a very different story and was about a very different subject matter, just to show people that you can do different things. I think that's really important for people doing short films, that once they've made one that they're very proud of and it does well, to move straight into the second one. I think now looking back, I would have liked to have done that second one sooner, rather than 2 or 3 year gap. I would have liked it to have been 6 or several months. I think I was just burnt out and tired, but actually I would have just jumped headfirst into the second one. I think having 2 short films to show people would have sped things up even more. But Wednesday opened me up to an agent, the opportunity of being taken on by an agent. It also proves to people that you can work with actors, that you can work with a crew, and it's really helpful to show people that work. I think ECU at the time was under 5 years. We were taken on the canal boat, all the filmmakers were there, we were all introduced to each other, we were going down the river, we went past the Eiffel Tower, all the iconic landmarks of Paris, and we arrived at the venue. And I thought it was one of the most incredible ways to introduce filmmakers to a festival. It was by far the most exciting first night of a film festival that I've been to with Wednesday. And the community of filmmakers, because of that experience on the canal, going to the festival on the first night, had bonded us all. And that's something that usually takes a day or two, but I felt at the end of the first night we were all together and we were all visiting each other's films and making sure we were there to see their screenings. We were there to support each other throughout the festival, and we got to hang out in Paris. I mean, who doesn't want to hang out in one of the most beautiful cities in the world with filmmakers from all different countries? I was always taught that being a filmmaker and working in the film industry, it's like a lot of creative endeavors, is a grassroots industry. So there's not a linear path to get from A to B. There's not like an easy route to go from your short film to your feature. And you usually find, you think it's a straight line like this, but it's like this squiggle going backwards, going forwards, going up and round and round. And each time you're going up, but it's always you feel like it's in the wrong direction, then you finally get there. So in the new year, I'm making my first feature film, which I'm very excited about, called Angels in the Asylum. We've got an incredible cast. We've got Simon Pegg, Catherine Waterston, Minnie Driver, Miriam Margulies, Kush Jumbo, to name a few. So we've got this incredible film that everyone's gonna put everything into in the new year. It's an independent, it's a passion project I've been trying to make for 15 plus years now. In between that journey of trying to get that film made and going from Wednesday to the feature, I did the behind the scenes I got to work with the most incredible master filmmakers, Christopher McQuarrie, Greta Gerwig, Paul Greengrass, Guy Ritchie, Stephen Daldry, Joe Wright, just accomplished, incredible artists, and you pick up as much as you can from them. At the same time, I've made documentaries, and I made a second short film called Hollow. Hollow was a film about addiction, and it had Lonzo Nosey, Martin McCann and Morgan Christie in it. That was a very prestige cast for a short film. I made a documentary called The Kodiak Queen, which Kate Winslet narrated, which was an environmental, ocean-driven film about building an art reef and sinking an old ship that survived Pearl Harbor and turning it into an art reef and bringing fish back to an area that had been decimated by overfishing in the Virgin Islands. And that was a really beautiful project to be part of. And it was all leading to, I feel like now looking back at it, everything was leading to Angels in the Asylum. The relationships that I made across the short films and documentaries and the behind the scenes have all come together and enabled me to put together the most incredible cast and the most incredible crew to make my first feature. Angels in the Asylum is a true story about a group of women who were typhoid carriers in the 1930s who were isolated in a mental asylum for having an infectious disease. So they were taken from their lives and they were locked away, and they went mad because of their incarceration. So back in those days, there was no antibiotic. So these women and people that were typhoid carriers were a public health risk. So they were isolated, but some were isolated in mental asylums. But back in 2008, when I found the story, no one wanted a film about misogyny, abuse of power, infectious disease and mental health that was completely female driven. Like, no one was interested, but I couldn't let this project lie. And over the years, I just kept on and on and on. I kept developing it. I kept rewriting the script. I kept talking to people about it, and I wouldn't put it down. And eventually, after 15 years, we had our breakthrough late last year. I think the best advice I can give young filmmakers is to always have a passion project outside of your day job that you can focus your creative juices on making. For example, I work in behind the scenes and I love my job and I learn a huge amount from doing what I do. At the same time, I've always made my short films and documentaries in the background because that's your voice, that's your work, that's your story, that's your heart. You know, that's what you put what you care most into. So over the years, at the same time as doing the big films that I do, doing behind the scenes on, I've made shorts and documentaries, and I think that's really important. I think you can't always do directing or producing or writing when you're starting out as your everyday, but you do have to find the evenings and the weekends to commit to those projects. And it is hard. It's not paid. You are exhausted when you do it. But I really do believe that the ones that want it the most will find the time, and they will make the extra effort to commit to those projects and make them happen. They take a long time. Short films are notorious for getting stuck in post-production or having struggles on set, but what you learn from going through that pain and that process is so much. If you make a mistake, you'll never make that mistake again. If you get it right, you'll be super proud because you did it with limited resources. And you're learning all the time, and you're getting your films into the circuit. You're meeting other festival goers, you're meeting other short filmmakers, and you'll start building your own community of friends who work in the industry that you can help each other out, that you can go back to for advice, or just people that you'll know for the rest of your career. So you build a community by making your passion projects. I think the qualities that you need to help you get there are tenacity, passion, dedication, attention to detail. Humility is always a bonus. And I think those qualities and carrying those with you as you're making films and you're moving forward in your career will take you a long way. I think it's about perseverance. Perseverance, because you can pull your hair out. You can be frustrated that something isn't moving in the way you want it, but perseverance will keep you going. And that's really important. If anyone would like to keep track of any of the work they heard me talk about today, Angels in the Asylum, or see any of the short films or documentaries, they can go to my website, which is robsorrenti.film. If they would like to follow me on Instagram, it's the same tag, robsorrenti.film. If you'd like to see any of the behind the scenes work that we talked about, www.futuretimepictures.com. That's futuretimepictures.com. That's got our behind the scenes work on it.